Hey guys, it's Dan with Tim over on Zoom. Hello, Tim.
Hi, everybody.
It's time once again for Dan Does Disney, and today we're talking about The Littlest Outlaw, one of the more obscure of the Disney movies, certainly the early ones. And Tim, I did actually find a little bit out about this. There's like nothing on Wiki or IMDb about this movie.
Yeah, I'm aware.
Yeah, I mean, not nothing. They have the things, but like, I mean, it's most minimal, bare bones thing. So I did find out a little bit. But first, let's talk about the general release. So it came out Christmas week in 1955, December 22nd, and I could not find anything about the budget. But the box office total was 1.6 million, which is less than all of their other 1955 movies. You had all the ones we've done already, because this is the end of it. We did the African, what was it? The African Lion, the first David Crockett movie. Joe and I did Lady and the Tramp. And so this was like the last one of 55 and performed the worst at the box office. So let's see. All I know really about this, and Tim, of course, will go over the plot synopsis and stuff, but all I really know about this is that they did actually film it on location in Mexico. They decided to forego their California, usual plots and backlots, and actually did some of the whole movie, I think, is filmed in Mexico. And they borrowed most of the horses from the Mexican Army's equestrian team. So these are all sort of well-bred horses, and they certainly take commands well, I guess, if they're doing the whole Army equestrian. And then this I thought was interesting too. So in order to A, save a little time and money, and B, make it more authentic, Walt and his crew cast bilingual actors. So what they did was, instead of doing overdubs for the film for the Spanish-speaking markets, they literally just shot the film twice, once in English, once in Spanish. So when they were done a scene, they just basically redid the scene in Spanish. And so that way, they didn't have to worry about authenticity or, spending the time to go in the studio and have voice actors try and mimic the words or whatever. So I thought that was kind of interesting.
Yeah, I read that and I thought that was interesting as well.
Yeah. Other than that, I don't really have much else to talk about with it. Did not get good critical reviews when it was released. But other than that, that's about it. Let's find out maybe why it was not received so well critically when Tim gets to the old synopsis here.
Okay, so here's the synopsis for The Littlest. Little Pablito is the stepson of a cruel horse trainer. The trainer responsible for training a Mexican general's horse to jump in a grand contest. But the cruel methods that he uses causes the horse, Conquistador, to fear jumping over the wall. When the general orders the animal's death, Pablito runs away with Conquistador, becoming a fugitive.
What a kid.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what happens. All right.
Pablito is played by Andreas Velasquez.
Yeah, some of these names are hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say Andre Velasquez.
Yeah. I thought his performance was probably one of the better performances. I thought he was a decent kid actor. The problem with this movie is
well, the show
the script. I mean, when it comes down to it, it's just the kid dragging the horse around for probably about half the movie. I mean, yeah. He's just walking the horse, getting the horse. I mean, he meets a couple of people along the way. He meets two fugitives named Vulture and Tiger, or criminals, or I don't. They one of them says that he's like the new chief of police or the sheriff or something like that. But obviously, they're criminals.
Yeah, it was a lie.
I thought that interaction was good. And then he also meets a priest, the Padre, and that's played by Joseph Kalia. And I thought he did good as well.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think those are probably the two best performances in the movie. And the one dude was in a James Bond movie later, like 10 years later. But I didn't think he was very good.
Which one?
General Torres, Pedro.
Oh yeah,
Almendarez, maybe.
He was such a minor character, really. That like he's in the beginning and then he's at the end.
Yeah, and yet he's top billed, I guess, because he's the adult.
Yeah,
but
and then you have his stepfather kind of chasing him around and trying to get him. And I thought his acting was okay as well. And then it ends with like this bullfight scene. And I mean that's realistic footage, and you actually see a man get gored by the bull.
Yes, and I believe that is real. I don't think that is movie magic. I couldn't find out anything concrete about it, but like it looks pretty real.
Yeah, I rewound it and it looks real.
Yeah, I think it is real. I don't know if they just went to a bullfight and shot footage. I don't know, but I think it was real.
Yeah. In 1955, the way it looked, there's no way of faking it. I mean,
yeah, I agree.
These days, like you could probably get a scene to look like that and make it look real, but in 1955, there's no way they fake that.
Yeah, so that was pretty brutal. That was the most interesting scene of the whole movie, though.
Yeah, it was interesting. Once it got to that sequence, it was a little boring before that in some of the bullfighting sequences, but I don't know, kind of dragged.
Well, the whole movie at 73 minutes. I mean, this is just not an exciting movie, Tim.
Yeah, I mean, it starts off with some good footage of the army horses jumping and running. You're like, oh, okay. And
yeah.
Then it definitely slows down.
But I think you're right, Tim. It's the script really that, I mean, some of the acting isn't that great, but the script really is so just uninspired and kind of lazy writing, and they attempted humor a couple times that I didn't think really worked.
There was one scene that made me laugh.
Okay, which one was that?
It was
where they get to the priest?
No, it was when the horse was in the barber shop and the drunk man came up and bumped into the horse's butt, and he was like, "Pardon me, ma'am," and like kind of like walked away. I mean, that made me laugh.
That was all right. Yeah, but I mean,
yeah.
I think a joke like that honestly speaks to one of the main issues with this movie is that it really is just for kids, and like mostly I think pretty little kids. Like I don't see adults really getting much out of this either today or in 1955. I mean, some of the Mexican scenery is nice to look at. I'll give them that, but we've seen better just in the true life adventures, or the, for Mexico specifically, some of the Donald Duck stuff they did. So I mean, even that wasn't that.
Yeah,
amazing.
Like the issues with the script is, one, he's just walking around with a horse, as I said before, and two, at one point he tries to like hide in this festival scene, and he grabs a mask off a table and he puts it on like he's disguised himself. He still has a horse with him.
Yeah, I think people aren't necessarily going to spot him because he's a little 10-year-old kid. They're going to spot the horse either way. So
yeah, he's trying to hide from his stepfather, and he puts on this mask and he's still dragging the horse around. And you're like, come on, kid. And then also he's trying to save this horse, but it seems like everybody he encounters, he tells them that this is conquistadors, the general's pride horse. Like, don't advertise that to everybody you meet, because then people are going to try to get the horse and get a reward and things like that.
Yeah, the parade scene, I sort of just chalked that up to, okay, he's a stupid 10-year-old kid. He thinks he's being clever, but he's not. But yes, the telling of all the people that this is conquistador and like we're gonna, you know, make our break for it. It's like that to me was real dumb, even for a kid.
Yeah. And
so
they make a whole big issue about the trainer making all these bad bets. And then I feel like it doesn't get resolved.
There's a few things in this movie that just sort of go unresolved, unanswered. And you could have put it, I mean, it's 73 minutes. You could have put in a couple more scenes to sort of tell us about things.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's definitely a glaring one that we just never learn anything else about. And I don't even know if it was that important to the story to begin with. So if you're not going to do anything with it, just don't even include it, really.
Yeah. There was another positive that I enjoyed besides some of the acting, and that is the interior of the churches that the Padre is at. It's stunning, and then you do get to see a little bit of Mexican culture, and with the bullfight scene, the festival scene, the animal blessing, I thought that was a decent look into the Mexican culture.
Yeah, I think that was definitely interesting, and I would guess that all of the church interiors and stuff, you know, like everything else in this movie that was shot in Mexico, I think was probably authentic to how they actually are. Like, I don't think they dressed them up necessarily for the movie. I think they were, you know, that's really how they look, and that's awesome. But again, I mean, I feel like we got so much of the Mexican and the Spanish culture in the late 40s movies of Walt that, yeah, I mean, it was definitely interesting, and the treatment of the horses was interesting, but even that didn't really do it for me, you know, really.
Yeah.
I think it's sad that this kid stopped acting a few years after this movie.
Yeah. What were your thoughts about their accents, or almost lack of,
or what were they doing? I don't know. I mean, to me, I feel like if they're already going to film it in English and in Spanish, you may as well just do an accent that feels authentic to you. Because, I mean, these are all already like Mexican actors, so they're already going to have accents. I don't know why they were trying to put on. Yes, it did seem a little odd that some of them had these very bizarre accents.
Yeah, like the little kid did a good job, but there was like no accent to him at all. It almost was like he was just an American little boy. And
yeah. And he's clearly not.
And he's clearly not. I felt like that was a little jarring and almost a little disrespectful to the Mexican culture. It would be like, oh, well, we can't have you have a Mexican accent at all. It'd be like watching Coco these days and not having Mexican actors play them, and they all have not Mexican accents. It would be so jarring.
Yeah, you make a great point, and one of my big examples of that was, what was the movie where the miners were stuck in the mine? Was it the 33 or something?
Yeah, the 33.
Yeah, and so they're all speaking English because, you know, I guess Americans are too stupid to read subtitles, or they don't want to, or whatever. But like, realistically, none of those people were speaking English down in the mine. They were all speaking their native tongues. So that was just, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
it was annoying.
Yeah, but at least they had accents. You had Antonio Banderas.
Well, yes. Yeah.
Like, obviously, when Antonio Banderas, normally speaking, he has a slightly thicker accent than when he does like Puss in Boots or the
Right.
Zorro movies, but he still has at least
Some. Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah, you're right. It would be like Coco's a great example, Tim. I can't deny it. Yes, it would be like if John Cena was, voicing in Coco or something instead of the
or
actual.
Ferdinand the Bull.
Okay, you know what? There's a bad movie, Tim.
And I believe that was John Cena, wasn't it?
That was yes, that was absolutely John Cena. He voiced the bull, right? He voiced Ferdinand. Yeah. That was silly. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, the acting was in general so bad that the kid's accent didn't, I think, bother me as much as it did you, just because he was one of the only good actors I felt in the whole movie. So I was like, all right, well, at least his acting's okay, even if his accent is kind of not there.
Yeah, I mean, I do think he did a good job acting. It was just very jarring not to have even the slightest accent.
Even the hint. Yeah. Yeah, I can't deny that. Trying to think of what else. I mean, this is really there's so little to talk about with this movie. You can kind of see why it's not one of the more popular ones. This is not even available on Disney Plus. We were passing the DVD back and forth. Although you can rent this on Amazon. A lot of the ones that I got on DVD from the Disney Movie Club, you can actually get on Amazon for $3 or whatever to rent. But yeah, there's a whole handful, including the next one we're going to see, that are just not on Disney Plus, and I don't know what the reasoning for that is. If they're just so sort of obscure, they don't really want to waste the bandwidth with it. I don't know.
I'm not sure either. I mean, there's probably an audience for this movie, people who like horses, and Disney historians like ourselves who want to see all these old Disney movies.
Yeah. Do you like horse movies, Tim, in general?
I think they're okay.
Yeah, I'm the same. Like, I haven't seen all of the really big ones. Like, I never saw Seabiscuit, but I've seen some. I saw Warhorse. They're okay. But I don't know. It's not really my lifestyle. Like, I don't go horseback riding. I don't, whereas cats and dogs I see every day. So I think stories about that maybe, I don't know, a little more meaningful to me. I don't know.
But we did watch a movie about a kid and a sheep, and we both really enjoyed that. So
that is true, I guess. So maybe it's just the writing stinks, Tim.
I think it is.
Yeah, it might be. I mean, look, I did the 4-H when I was a kid. There were sheep there, and there were pigs, and so I don't know. But I guess there probably must have been horses too at the 4-H. I just don't really remember. But yeah, I mean, script-wise, this is probably the worst Disney movie that we've seen so far. I can't. I mean, some of the ones with all the different segments, I mean, those weren't really script intensive. Those were more for artistic purposes. But I don't know. Can you think of one that we've seen so far with a worse script than this?
No, Rob Roy was somewhat bad script but better acting.
Yeah, better acting than this for sure. And
it didn't feel as long. Like, there was at least some actiony parts in it.
Yeah, and I feel like that was probably a half hour longer than this, or 20 minutes longer than this.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. I mean, I like I said off air before we started, I just finished watching this like 5 minutes ago, and already it made so little of an impact on me. I mean, there might be a couple of things I remember. Certainly the guy getting gored. That's a classic scene. And I did like when he first went to the priest, and like, that kind of stuff was good. That's memorable. But other than that, yeah, I mean, once we hit 5, 6, 7 other movies, I mean, this is just going to be such a blip to me.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, there's not really much to say, I don't think. So this thing was released on VHS in the mid 80s. I think it was 86 or 87. But to my knowledge, this is the only DVD version of it. This is from Disney Movie Club exclusive. So if you're a part of the Disney Movie Club, you can get it. If not, I guess you can get them. Like Amazon sells them sort of for $30 or whatever if you really want to pay that. But it's better, I think, to get a lot of these old ones from the Disney Movie Club. As far as I know, it has not ever been on Blu-ray, and not just in America, but in any country. So yeah, that's it. I mean, this is a very, very obscure release, I feel like.
Yeah, and there's not much features on it. At least you have scene selection opposed to just play. But
was that Rob Roy that did that?
I think so.
You put it in, and it did have a screen, but your only option was to hit play. Yes, this at least had a scene selection. Yeah, boy, oh boy, I don't know. I still think they could put some sort of extras with this. Like the guy that directed this, what was his name?
I don't have it written down.
Oh, well, it's Roberto Galvedon, but that's not who I'm thinking of. The guy who brought the story to Disney, Larry Landsberg, he directed like a small handful of animal themed shorts for Disney back in the late 40s and early 50s. Like why couldn't they have put a couple of these on there so you could at least, get a better idea of this guy or whatever. Although this story, did you read that this story had been kind of kicking around for like a decade before they actually did the movie?
I think I did read that.
Yeah, he brought the story to Walt. And what's interesting is, so there were 4 1955 releases, which we talked about. This is the last one. But July of 55 is when Disneyland opened. So Walt was just, I mean, he barely like did anything on this movie. He said yes to the story and like whatever. He probably approved the script, but he was certainly more hands-on with like Lady and the Tramp and stuff because he was still more in the animation. But I just, from everything I've read, I don't think he had much to do really with this movie at all, other than saying yes, you can release it, under the Disney name and whatever.
Yeah, so, it seems like he also had a fondness for animal movies because he did So Dear to My Heart. So, and he personally picked the director for So Dear to My Heart because he did Flicka. So obviously he liked horse movies. So I think that's probably really the only reason he released this.
Yeah, I would say so. I feel like, look, obviously not everything he touched was gold, but I feel like if he actually did spend a little more time looking at the script and maybe making suggestions or maybe changing it himself, I think we would have had a more memorable picture.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, this did air once, as far as I know, on the Wonderful World of Disney in 1958. But other than that, yes, just sort of obscure. I'm sure it probably ran on TV on the Disney Channel back in the day, but most people, I would say, don't remember it. I think that's probably fine. Let's grade this thing. This, to me, Tim, is the first negative or even like average-ish grade that I feel is appropriate for a Disney film.
Yeah, I would give it probably a C, like in a C range. Like
I'm between like C and C minus on it, because even like, sometimes we'll raise something up by a little bit if it's got historical context, or it was the first movie to do this, or this movie has none of that.
Yeah, because I remember raising up like the Sword and the Rose and Rob Roy just because of Glynis Johns' performance. The kid does a decent job, but it's not Glynis Johns level.
Yes. Well, and like you said, his barely there accent really, was taking it. It didn't affect me as much, but it took you right out of it.
I feel like his accent, like it wasn't. I feel like his acting was decent enough that his lack of accent wasn't that jarring. It was like some of the other characters, like the little girl who's a horrible actress.
Horrible actress.
Her non-accent, like horrible acting, that was so jarring. It's like, And
really bad overacting.
I feel like that when they had that, it's a minor character, but with her and her, that made me realize that the little boy also didn't really have much of accent.
Okay, that's fair. Well, and I feel, look, that's another thing Disney has, was good at back in the day, is picking out talented kids. And I think if he were a little more hands-on with this project, he may have said, like, no, this girl really is stinking up the screen. Like, can we get somebody else? Because even though that kid was terrible in Treasure Island, or no, was that Treasure Island, right?
Yeah, that's when he was making that stupid face.
He's making that stupid face. But before that, the 3 movies or whatever before that, he was really good at.
Yeah,
or at least serviceable.
Yes.
So I don't know. Yeah, it's a real bummer. They did do a record version of this with the voice of Jiminy Cricket. You probably read that. That they're in 1955 they made like a record version as part of the little Disney collection, whatever. But they got the voice of Jiminy Cricket, so that may have been interesting if our good friend Jiminy Cricket was telling the story instead of this awful acting. But then you wouldn't see one of the best parts of the movies, which is the lush, Mexican scenery.
Yeah.
So maybe that's a wash. I don't know. I think I'm leaving this with a C-.
Yeah, I'll give it a C-. I was thinking C,
Yeah.
but now that I'm thinking about other things, C-.
Yes. Once you brought that little girl up, I was like, oh, I can't give this thing a C. There's no way. All right. Well, our next movie is what's it called? The Great Locomotive Chase?
The Great Locomotive Chase. Starring Fess Parker.
Yes, our old friend Fess Parker from Davy Crockett. Really, Tim, well, first of all, you already saw that, so you sort of have an inkling of your thoughts. I haven't watched it yet, but it just occurs to me now, this Littlest Outlaw is the only new live action movie that Walt did the whole year. Because of the 4, Lady and the Tramp was animated, Davy Crockett was just old episodes of the TV show, and then the other one was a nature documentary. Yeah. So the whole year, this is the only, and which means the last live action scripted movie he did was 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, which was like amazing.
Yeah.
So boy, what a huge step down.
But you did say he was opening Disneyland at the same time, so
yeah,
I feel like that's probably the reason why he didn't really have his hands in the movie.
Yeah. Well, and look, the box office receipts prove that was a bad idea. It didn't do well critically or commercially, and it's largely forgotten. So there you go.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess that'll about wrap it up then. So Great Locomotive Chase will be next. Like I said, Tim's already seen it. He has not told me anything about his thoughts, but that's another one I'm not necessarily looking forward to. And then is the next Davy Crockett one right after that, or is there maybe a nature one first?
It's either a nature one or it's Davy Crockett.
Okay. Let's see if I can.
What is that?
Look it up here, because we're in 50. We'll be in 56 now.
Like that? Is it Davy Crockett and the River Pirates or something like that?
Yes, that is actually the one right after Locomotive Chase. So in 56, you've got Locomotive Chase, Davy Crockett, which opened a month away from each other. And then Secrets of Life is the nature one. And then another sort of Western live action movie called Westward Ho! The Wagons. And that was his Christmas 56 movie, which I think I also have on DVD, if it's not on DVD.
I think Fess Parker is also in that one.
Let's look. Starring Fess Parker. Man, oh man. He was quite popular, I guess. But you did not care for him very much in Davy Crockett.
I thought he was overshadowed.
I guess we'll talk more about all that week with.
Yeah, I thought it was just overshadowed a little bit by the other guy.
Yeah, the what's his name? Buddy Ebsen. Yeah, well, he's a classic.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I guess we'll talk more about the great Fess Parker next time. But Tim, thanks for joining, and we'll see everybody next time. Bye.
Bye, everybody.